Islam means submission. And we can all see how seriously many Quran-reading, pious Muslims are trying to enforce this around the globe. But there are also some other strong themes in the Quran besides submission, such as bigotry and misogyny. And yet, there's a regressive group of commentators in Australia who want to call conservative Australians bigots for our abhorrence of many teachings in the Quran. Now, I'm going to use Saudi Arabia as the example here, but basically you could insert any of the Islamically governed nations as the same examples. You see, in Saudi Arabia and Middle Eastern countries, if a woman wears a miniskirt or shorts, she can be stoned by the religious police. But in Australia, women can walk down the street in a bikini if they want to. But if anyone objects to a woman wearing full face coverings, we are called racist and bigots, despite the fact any criminal, pedophile, man or woman could wear a burqa and be a serious security threat. In Saudi Arabia, you can't read your Bible in public or share it with anyone else. But in Australia, MPs can be sworn into public office on the Quran, which, by the way, says there is no higher authority than Islam, and that is the first allegiance of a Muslim. In Saudi Arabia, apostates are severely punished and even killed. But in Australia, you can be any religion you choose, and you can even make one up if you want to. In Saudi Arabia, only Muslims can go to Mecca and Medina. Everyone else is excluded. Can you imagine that kind of apartheid in Australia? No, of course you can't, because we are civilised. In Saudi Arabia, they don't take refugees. Despite the fact they are extremely wealthy, they do have the space, the tent cities are already set up and well equipped. It is a Middle Eastern nation that could easily absorb Muslim asylum seekers who are eager and keen to obey barbaric Sharia law. But no, not a peep out of the social justice warriors or so-called human rights advocates. There's no rallies or hashtag campaigns. And in Australia, we take more than our fair share of refugees and illegal immigrants. Yet if anyone dares speak up with reasonable objections, we're labelled Islamophobes, bigots, racist. And many of these asylum seekers have had to travel right past some more suitable Middle Eastern locations to get to our shores. Yet their journey to a neighbouring Muslim country would be shorter, with far less risk and a much lower loss of life along the way. You see, if it were really about human rights and compassion, then advocates would pressure governments like Saudi Arabia to actually take in these refugees. But it's not about compassion, it's about Islamisation, social engineering and globalisation. The most Saudi contributes to the refugee crisis is an offer to build hundreds of mosques in Western nations to promote more Islam. In Saudi Arabia, crimes are punished in incredibly barbaric ways. Stoning, hanging, whipping, cutting off limbs, false imprisonments, public executions. It's normal, every day. More than 150 people were publicly executed in Saudi Arabia last year, many just for thought crimes or for speaking against the government. And somehow they managed to chair the Human Rights Council of the United Nations. In Australia, our prisons are overflowing with criminals of Middle Eastern appearance who have been inspired by the actions of the so-called prophet and who directly obey commands from the Quran. But we're somehow the bigots and racists for not wanting to import more of the same? In Saudi Arabia, a woman can't drive, she can't wear anything but full garb to cover her body in case a barbaric, savage Muslim male who can't control himself might rape her. She needs witnesses to testify if she is raped, or she herself will be punished for adultery. Women can be held as slaves because that's what the Prophet did. Women have no equality and their human rights are constantly abused. Women are not allowed to date or choose their own companions, and they have very little legal rights when it comes to divorce, custody or inheritance matters, and child brides are common. In Australia, we've had a female Prime Minister. Women can choose what they want to wear, who they want to go out with, what job they want to do. We can speak out on issues that concern us. We have avenues to pursue when it comes to abuse, rape and subjugation. We do our best to protect children from sexual exploitation. Yet we're supposedly a country full of bigots, misogynists and racists? Oh, I could go on, but I think you get the point. The social justice warriors and the lefties delight in calling us the bigots, racists and homophobes, but let me tell you something. Bigotry is the subtitle of the Quran and practiced extremely well by pious Muslims everywhere. Misogyny and racism are also strong themes in the Quran. It is Islam that is the problem. It's people are not fleeing to those Islamic countries because they know that it is ruled and governed by savage, barbaric Sharia law. Yet people are risking their lives travelling to the ends of the earth to come to Australia because we have freedom, tolerance and democracy. It is worth fighting for, it is worth standing up for. I'm not ashamed and I will not apologise for wanting to defend our way of life. I hope that you'll join me.